Okay, what I'm going to be showing you today is the instructions for how to install and use this lens. This is a Kern Vario-Switar f1.25 18 to 86 OE lens. So it has automatic exposure functionality, but it can also be used in manual exposure without having a battery installed. So this is obviously the body side of things. This is a very large flange around this C-mount here. So what we do to put it in is we line up the shutter release with the shutter release on the body, and swap the lens in. I'll be very careful not to cross thread. Okay, that's got it screwed in. So we're nice and snug. Everything is sturdy. Now I'll show you. There. I'm going to show you the controls for the lens. So first of all, there's the settings. This right here is for the film speed, and that's the little markings for the film speed across the top here. To change this, you just grab this like this, pull it up, and rotate. You see the marker rotates around. Now, as you know, if you're using a Seikonic meter or some other general third-party generic meter, you have to take into account the fact that it's a reflex camera and that there's 25% light loss at the prism. You don't have to do that with these. These lenses are built so that they take into account the light loss at the prism on the reflex cameras, and therefore if you're putting 200 ASA film in it, you just set it to 200 and you're happy. Now, below that, you see we've got a setting for shutter speed, and it's got two markings on it. I don't really have anything, a nice pointer, but over here, there's a semicircle that is half white and half black, and over here, there is a semicircle that is fully white. Now, what the white and the half white, half black semicircles refer to is the shutter, whether you're running a full shutter or whether you're running a half shutter. In other words, do you have it stop down like this? If so, set your shutter speed to that guy there. And if you're not stop down, if you're shooting with the shutter wide open, you change your shutter speed to that marking there. Okay, so on the lens, those are the settings. These are the controls. Okay, and for the controls, we have up at the top here a control for your aperture and your OE, or automatic exposure functionality. Down here you have a battery check button. So when the lens is set in an OE state, in other words, when it's got a black background on the indicator, if you press the battery check button, the needle goes up to F16, which indicates a full battery. So, to change from this mode with the gold colored background, which is manual aperture, to OE, or automatic aperture, you pull out on the ring when it's set to f2.5, pull out on the ring and rotate all the way up to the top, and then that gives you the black area. You can also do something that's sort of like a bracketing kind of thing, where if you have, let's say, that much black area showing, it will only give you exposures or F values that are within that little black strip. okay? So you can go, let's say you wanted to make sure that you had the automatic exposure, but you knew that you would need to have a lot of light. So you set your auto down to here, so it'll never go close more than f5.6 in that particular case. Anyways, the shutter plunger has two modes. It's got this mode here, and then you twist it and you got another mode over there. Now, what's the difference between the two modes? In this mode, which is set to the 9 o'clock position, there's a black indicator here. When you push on the shutter plunger, it's a regular plain old shutter plunger. You turn it to the 3 o'clock position, and then what we've got is we've actually got a preview sort of thing. So that very faint click, what's happening is the aperture on the camera is going wide open when you hear that faint click, and that allows you to set up your framing and your aperture or your focus before you go to shoot, right? So what you do is you press in, hear the click, stop, frame, focus, keep pushing, and when you push past the second click, it basically goes to whatever the OE, the automatic exposure, thinks that it should be set to. So that's that. Now, those are the controls. That's the basic way that it worked. Of course, this is a zoom here and a focus here. When you put these lenses on these cameras, you should either lock using the body lock, right? The turret lock the turret, or use a turret lock cap. One other thing I need to show you, and that's the battery situation. Okay, so in the battery situation, it needs a 1.35 volt battery. So I'm using a Vinzel. This is a MRB 625 battery. They're about $11 a piece. It's got a diode on it, and it's a zinc air battery. So what that means is the battery's putting out 1.4, and then it goes through the diode, and that drops it down to 1.35. So drop the battery into the battery compartment. Make sure that the positive side is up, and then you need a spacer. So a ball of tin foil will do the job. There we go. That's it.